one of our subscribers left a comment saying that he had been told that for realistic painting you never do blending. Well, I'd like to take a look at that. I think this teacher who advised never blending for realistic painting was really talking about not overblending. So I'd like to take a look at the difference between overblending and blending. First, let me point out, in our history there are lots of realistic painters, master painters, who do blending, but they do it masterfully. They know when to blend and when to stop blending, and when to stop blending is the whole issue. So let's do a little bit of an experiment here. I'm going to do just a very simple image of a sphere, a circle, and so let's just put two. I'll just make an indication here, very small, of two spheres. Let's get them relatively the same size, and to give us a place to start. No, we don't want them too warped, do we? All right. There we go. Now, I'm going on this one. Let's do what I would call good blending. And on this one, let's do what I would call not so good blending. Or you might call it, well, I hate using the word bad blending, but let's just say over blending. Now, here's the way the good blending goes. So let's suppose that we have a light's coming right here on both of these. So the light's coming from about right there, over here somewhere for both of these. I would throw the darker shadow part, the form shadow. We'd throw the form shadow right here. Now, we can load our brushes, and when we're doing a minimum of blending, we can load our brush and allow the brush to shape the image. That's where it begins. So allow the brush to shape the image. So I could start here where the shadow is. I could pull up towards the light with that one stroke. I could start here next to that stroke, and then I could begin to pull around the shape with that stroke. I could start here with another stroke and continue to pull around the shape like this and like that. And now I have begun an in shadow or a form shadow area of this shape. Now, the other side of the thing, where you're over blending, is happens because well, let's just say it will happen to people who are not using the brush to shape the object, but are using the brush just to apply paint. So what happens there is, rather than to use the brush to shape the object, as I was showing here, this kind of thing happens where it just gets, where the brush just gets used to apply paint, and usually people will be using a brush that's way too small, and it will end up being a dabble, dabble, dabble. And this would be kind of indicative of that sort of thing, where you're just, the person is just putting paint down just to cover, just to, they may be looking at something that has, I won't make that bad on purpose, might be looking at that, maybe an apple or an orange or something that has the shadow on this side, but they're just dabbling color in. And the tendency when doing that, first of all, when you're working with a brush that's too small, and you're just dabbling the paint rather than using the brush to form the paint, the tendency is just to keep dabbling. Now you can already see the difference. In this one, we feel like it's dabble paint. This one, we feel like it's moving in the direction of the shape. So let's look at how we would then move forward with those two. And so I will move into a more shallow shadow of the form shadow. As it's coming, or would be coming around this round shape, it would begin to get just a little bit lighter, and so then we would make it a little bit lighter. But how we would do that is by using the brush to shape it. So I might start the brush on the edge here, and I might begin to pull the brush around like that. I might start the brush on the edge on this side like this, and then I might pull the brush around like that in the shape of the shadow. But I would only use the brush to blend just enough for blending. Now there's the place where we really do need to do a bit of blending, but this is healthy blending, where I would then use my brush and I would pull the shadow into the lighter part, or the lighter part into the shadow, sort of like this, so that we begin to get what we would call a healthy blend. Let's put just a little bit more of this. I pulled that away and didn't mean to. There we go, like that. You see, even when you need to make a correction like that, you do it with very few strokes. Now, if this, on the other hand, for a person who might be over blending, using a brush that's too small, applying paint, using the brush as a paint applicator rather than a shape maker, it might do something like this. So it might just dab on, you might just dab that paint on, like that. And then you would try to blend it. Now people would try to blend it like this, like that, and blend, and blend, and blend, and blend, and blend, and you see it ends up being a very dead and choppy looking blend. Now going back to the healthy blending, all right, I might begin to move into where the light would be on the shape, and so then that would be right in here. You begin to form where the light is on the shape. I might reach in for a little bit of darker color and just use the brush to move it around the shape like that, and then on the other side use the brush to shape and move the shape like that, and then to get that blended I could use the brush just to move between the two shapes like that in kind of a zigzag way, and then maybe one final sweep like this, maybe pull them in. It takes very few strokes, one final sweep, and I begin to feel blended. Now some artists like to get that a real smooth, ultra realistic, it's called photorealism blend. Other artists like to leave their brush strokes behind, which I prefer doing. But the important thing is it doesn't matter if it's photorealistic. You just do just a little bit more of the blending here, but you will still be using your brush to shape the image. The difference is that over here you're just using your brush as an applicator. All right, now to wrap that whole thing up over here, on this side, I might just again load paint. I really should be doing with a brush smaller than I need to show you the real thing, but then that would drag the quick tip way out. So I might just begin to do this and this and this and this, and then try to get that blended. And say, now I might try blend it. I would pull it down here like that, and then I pull it down here like that, and then I pull it down here like that, and then I pull it like that, and I keep working. Now here's the thing that happens: the more I work that paint, the more it's going to lose its vibrancy. The paint particles will get all homogenized and lose their vibrancy if I just keep working, keep working, keep working. And people who are working to always get it perfect like that, just by blend, 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 then what they're going to end up with is something that's going to feel kind of dead and uninteresting. So it may, and they'll keep working back and forth and keep working back and forth and keep working back and forth until it begins to lose. It begins to lose its vibrancy, and on and on. Now, let's go to the one where I did. Already you see how much time I spent applying paint here by just using the brush as an applicator, and how little time I've spent putting paint here. So the time thing is another thing, but here's the deal. The less time you spend and the fewer brush strokes, the more vibrant the work's going to be. So let's see what we might do here. Okay, so we might start here, and I might start right in here, and I'll move over here with a little bit lighter color like that. You see, and I'm allowing the brush to move along the shape and shape the image. Now I can begin to create a bit of a blend here, and then I can work the brush in both directions. Now at this point I can blend it. I can continue to stroke. I could continue to stroke until I would get it a totally realistic blend. But you could see already, I'm going to leave a few strokes behind, you can see already how this has the feeling of vibrance. And when you look at especially this area in here against this area right here, you see how dead this looks? Hope that really shows up in the video, whereas you have the life of the image here, simply because we did an overblend. So my advice is, rather than to avoid blending, work on creative blending, or what would you might call blending, or good blending, effective blending, where you work on using the brush to shape the image rather than just a paint applicator. So if you found this quick tip helpful, you might have a question, something that's confusing you, or where you've heard conflicting information about how something should be done. In that case, you see the comment section below. Just drop a comment there and tell me what you would like for me to talk about or to show you about, and we'll do a quick tip for you and for everybody else too. And while you're doing that, keep in mind that we have on our DianeMize.com site, we have now well over 140 hours of instructional video, where you can choose areas or choose subjects that you would like to work on and have an hour-long tutorial for you that belongs to you. So I would like for you to give that a look. I think you might find that helpful. And there's your quick tip.